All right, back up to our panel. Let's go to you, Ken, again, because this will be all of a 7-second answer. What's your preferred go-to funding strategy?
Send out an email.
And it's the 50-50.
Yeah. I don't like debt. And if you don't have debt, you go to actual cash flow faster. People say it's expensive, and it is if you think of it as a one-term thing. But if you think of it again as leveraging an asset, my group of investors is an asset. And so while maybe I paid them more money than I could have gotten away with on my first deal in Hinesville, I'm able to push a button and raise $2 million for this deal that's going to make me a lot of, it's going to make me 7 figures of money. So was that money on Hinesville expensive? I don't think so.
Right on. Eric, how about you, man? Preferred funding strategy, if you have one?
I don't necessarily think I have one. I mean, we've done owner financing, we've done the bank loan stuff. I love what Ken does. I think, maybe to Brent's point, I've thought about putting deals together like that, and you kind of get nervous. Can you raise $500,000 or $1 million in cash to put that together? And I think the short answer is yes, for sure. We have not done that, but I want to do that. So I think what we've been rolling with is we got one bank that's giving us these good terms, and they basically told us this week when we closed, they were like, we could loan you guys probably $25 million and just keep going, and you don't have to, as long as the numbers make work with the deal, like, we're ready. So money's cheap. It seems like each one we've done with them has gotten a little bit better terms, and I'm okay with that.
Awesome. How about you, Ian?
My answer would be about as short as Ken's.
It can be as long or short as you need it to be, brother.
Like Eric said, there's no really preferred model, even though Ken likes to push me into this box of wanting bank debt. But the caveat to that is that, bank debt is a powerful tool that you've underwritten the deal to work without debt first. If the deal works without debt first, that will only make it better. Past that, just funding in general. So usually we look at bank debt. Obviously, if there's opportunity to utilize owner financing, creative financing, whatever it may be, we explore all those options. From a equity funding side of things, things have gotten a little more formal and have set up a fund to try to formalize what we're doing and continue on. So there's no guessing on how we're funding the deals, the fund set up. This is the box that it goes in, and we can continue, like Ken was talking this morning in his presentation, that I already know all my answers to the questions. I just got to look at the deal and does it fit my box or does it not, and continue on.
With the bank loans, I'll just add that I've done, we have not used our own funds for those down payment money. So if I do a bank loan, that's definitely going to be the way that I go. It's worked really well.
Yeah, I agree. I've done several deals that way, either where I'm the down going into somebody else's deal and they're operating, or where I'm the operator and I've gotten a bank loan and pulled the down payment from somebody else. It's a great way to get in. And another, before we get to Chris, another thing that often comes up with newer investors is, well, I got 50 grand or I got 100 grand or 30 grand or whatever it is, and I could put it in a deal, but I don't want to put that, like, once I send that out, now I've got no money left, so how am I ever going to do deal number 2? And it's a valid concern and a chess game that you should play, move the pieces around on the board a little bit, but at the same time, don't discount, and a lot of you have heard me say this before, the fact that, yes, deal number 2, you won't have as much liquid capital on hand to do, but you'll have the experience and track record from deal number 1, which compensates for your lack of cash, and now you can go raise it. Right? That's exactly the reason that came to me now, is because my deal number 2 was the one where I was out of down payment money and had to borrow it all from somebody else, and so I was in for projected, $5,000 down up front. I ended up being in 25, but either way, it was the reputation of having done it once before, not theoretical proof, but actual proof of concept that you can show an investor, and all of a sudden, it becomes a whole lot easier to raise the money.
Yeah.
Chris, what about you, brother?
Similar to Ken, I mean, I prefer using other people's money, and when I got started, I didn't have money, and then I kind of learned, well, if the deal's good enough, you could find funding very easily, and just like Ken, you raise so much money. So for me, I just enjoy doing that. It's really nice too, because I'm newer in self-storage, just having a partner and somebody to lean on. I've done that with Scott, doing it now with Mike, and so I'm learning a ton that way. And yeah, it's nice not to have any debt or have to worry about it and just be able to lean on someone.
Yeah, and Chris, if I can, I'll share with you guys our partnership model is one where Chris brought me the deal because of our relationship and said, hey, I want to wholesale this deal, right? And I said, okay, that's cool if you want. And we ran the numbers and thought, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, here's what he sees as a wholesale fee. Here's what I see. And I'm like, listen, if you can get that, by all means, go out to the market. But let's talk about why you're wholesaling it. And we dug in, and he had wholesaled the previous two because, as he said, he was looking to get out of some debt and he needed the cash up front. But I know Chris well enough. We've had enough conversations where I know he wants to be an owner, but he had some limiting beliefs that he wasn't ready yet, or maybe some insecurity that, well, if I just had another 50 grand in the bank, it would be easier to make that plunge, right?
Yeah.
And so ultimately what he and I worked out was he more or less wholesaled the deal to me. I gave him a finder's fee. And then I more or less hired him in exchange for equity in the deal on top of the wholesale fee that he received to run it for me. My role being to coach him through the process. And so you guys, the point I'm trying to make is I want you to think outside the box. Most people would say, and a lot of us in the room know, like, oh, instead of wholesaling a deal, instead of a fee, let's get equity. Well, Chris and I came up with a way where he got both. So he had two itches. One, I need a little cash on hand to feel a little more secure, which we can talk about if the cash is actually going to do that or not, right? But that's a different soapbox. And he wants to be an owner and learn. And so he got wholesale fee and equity. I got to put my money to work and coach somebody who I enjoy working with, right? So I don't mean to sidetrack us. I just thought that was important to share.